Welcome to Amazing Business Radio with best-selling author and customer service and business expert, Shep Hyken. Shep will talk with some of the smartest thinkers in business to help make you more successful in your professional and personal life. This is Amazing Business Radio with Shep Hyken.
Hello, everybody. It's Shep Hyken back with another episode of Amazing Business Radio. Today, we're going to be talking with Jay Patel, who is the Senior VP and GM of Webex, Customer Experience Solutions, brought to you by Cisco. Jay has been in this industry for a long, long time. He's going to be sharing some incredible insights about innovation that's happening in the whole world of customer service and experience, especially in the contact center. And we're going to be talking about AI. We're going to be talking about the employee experience. It's going to be an amazing interview. Before we get into the interview, a quick announcement. If you've got a great story that you want to share or a question that you have for me, please reach out to me on any of the social media channels. I am pretty much everywhere. And if you do ask a question, please use the hashtag AskShep. I'll answer it there in the social channel, on this show, or perhaps in my newsletter, the Shepherd Letter. And you can subscribe to that by going to hyken.com, Hyken, and picking up a free subscription to the Shepherd Letter. Every week I come out with ideas on customer service and experience. I also include a fun cartoon. And while you're on my website, be sure to click on the research tab and download at no charge my annual customer service and experience research. You don't even have to put in your email address. It just automatically comes to you as soon as you click the button. So I hope you enjoyed that. And now let's get into our interview with Jay Patel. Jay, welcome to the show.
Great to be here.
So Cisco, huge name, member of the Fortune 100, big companies. And you guys are involved in many different things. I don't know if a lot of people realize just how much you're involved in the whole customer service experience world. I know that you've had some really incredible on-premise systems that were used, 10, 15 years ago. And I was just at the CCW, which is Contact Center Week conference, which is the largest conference of contact center people in the world. And you had a huge, not you personally, but your company had a huge presence there, because they are just really pushing forward with some really amazing innovations and technology. So Jay, why don't you give us a little background on yourself and Cisco?
Hey there, Shep. So I run what we call the Webex CX Solutions Group. And that's a fairly large group at Cisco. We have a few thousand people, and we basically essentially supply platforms to organizations to help them communicate with their customers, of which clearly contact centers is a very large part of that. And historically, Cisco had a large presence on premise. And over the years, we've been investing in our cloud solutions. And in recent years, what we've realized is that there are some profound changes going on in how customers and businesses communicate with each other. Firstly, the network, messaging, but then also, more importantly, recently, AI, that really plays into some of the strengths that Cisco has around the platforms that we have and our security stance. So we're really doubling down on our investments in this area. And as you said, we were at CCW a week ago, a very successful conference for us. And we're really looking to be part of the change that we see, which is customers and businesses are going to basically interact very differently going forwards in the future.
So tell me, interact differently. Give us some examples of what differently is.
Well, today you end up, unfortunately at times, on the phone for half an hour, listening to some classical music, waiting to get through to a customer service agent.
And by the way, the company that says, if you want to listen to other types of music, here are options. They still haven't mastered technology. Listening to the music, regardless of whether you love the music or not, just eases the pain a little bit, but it still hurts to wait for 30 minutes.
It is insane how that is seen as part of the solution. I think the reality is that nobody wants to spend time calling a contact center, and they typically have a problem that they want solved. And we believe that over the next few years, that problem will be solved through a lot of self-service, and will also be solved with the help of AI much faster. not only in reducing those call handling times, but also ultimately when you get through to an agent, to also help the agent answer your issues faster and resolve them faster. So we see that AI is going to basically transform that whole experience. But it's not just AI, it's also the fact that over the years, we now all have smartphones, we all use different networks, we use different messaging systems. And we just think that we are getting into an age where customer expectations are that they don't need to wait. Now, we've got used to the idea of immediate service, and we just see that this area of contact center service, of customer experience management, is one of the areas that can still be massively improved. And that's where there's a great opportunity for us.
So I want your feedback on this stat. We do annual research, consumer research, and every year I'm totally surprised at how many people still want to go phone first versus digital first. This year, it was 68%. So basically 7 out of 10 customers, given the option between a digital self-service, maybe it's AI fueled, or phone, they choose to go to the phone. And I think that's going to change, but it's been fairly consistent. It's been 70% or so for the last 5-6 years that we've been doing the research. By the way, you can probably guess the age of the people that love the phone more so than others.
I think the reality is firstly, human interaction and the desire to talk to somebody is not going away. Like so there'll be situations, maybe situations where you are anxious about something, maybe situations where it's very complex, that you're still going to need to talk to somebody. But at the same time, I think one of the reasons why there's still a preference for phone is self-service today has not solved many of these issues. We still get massively frustrated on web chat. The web chat experience promised a lot, hasn't delivered probably what we thought it could deliver a few years ago. A lot of self-service portals are pretty one-dimensional and don't often deal with the edge cases or anything outside of just a very simple use case. And then what we also find, obviously, is that voice is something that people are prepared at some point they need that human connection. And I think what we really see is we see that self-service will just get a lot better, because the ability to train systems and deliver self-service in a more intuitive and empathetic way is going to increase massively. So I think self-service will get better, and ultimately you will use self-service a lot more going forwards. We also think, though, that voice will split between voice where you will talk to a AI agent in a natural language way to get your point across, and the agent will answer your questions and be able to deal with your problems or whatever issues you have. And then if not, it can hand over to a human agent. So I suspect in the next few years, when you do the survey again, I'd love to see how the split goes between, I still want to speak to the organization, but actually when I speak to the voice agent, the voice AI agent, wow, it really works. And I think that you're going to see quite soon Cisco and many others create systems that are good enough for you to have a conversation with. And we have to remember that ultimately we've spoken a lot longer than we've typed as human beings. I think the most profound technical change or technology change you're going to see in the next few years is the fact that the machines will be able to understand us through voice. And I think
they're already there. It was November, about 2.5 years ago when ChatGPT was introduced to the public.
Correct.
Yeah, and that is such a cool way to converse with the computer.
What's really fascinating is all the large models, foundational models, have launched voice mode, and voice mode is very good. If you try it, it is excellent. But these tend to be generic foundational models with generic answers. They also are situations in which you're looking for information, and you will broadly probably be in a quiet place. You will probably pause after asking your question, and there will be a largely you say something, the machine says something, you say something, the machine says something, and the experience is actually very, very good. It's excellent. That's quite different at times talking to another human, where you interrupt each other, you're looking for cues as to when you might actually want to say something, and you may also call, for example, a contact center from a street, or you may call them from a bus or a train or something where there's lots of background noise. And what you're now seeing imminently is we and others are solving for a lot of complexity in having a voice conversation. And I think once that is solved, as I said, I think everyone's now fine tuning this process. You may even prefer talking to a voice AI agent rather than waiting half an hour to talk to a human agent.
Right. And who wouldn't want that? That's my whole argument for self-service is, you want the information now, or do you want it in 20, 30 minutes? And do you want to be transferred 7 times? And do you think that the voice AI agent is smart enough to know when there's confusion, when there's anger, when there's
For sure. We're living through an incredible age of innovation, because every single part of a conversation is being broken down by multiple businesses who are creating models for detecting emotion, models for detecting anxiety. I mean, there's so much innovation going on that, yes, for sure, this will be solved, and you will get a really, let's say, a natural language indistinguishable from a human conversation that you will be able to trust. And of course, customers and brands should let you know you're talking to a human, a voice agent.
Yep.
But at the same time, you're often calling to get something done. And this again is where, if you look at the mode of a lot of self-service tools today, which are text-based, like web chat, it's just not as rich as having a voice conversation. And I do think that is something, like I said, once it's more widespread, in a few years, we'll be wondering, we'll still have voice conversations, voice will still be the mode, and you'll still call something, but you won't need to have lots of human agents. Well, you won't need to wait, and I think the issue is waiting, and the frustration that comes with being passed on from agent to agent. The frustration also comes from when you call a contact center. You may have called yesterday, and they don't know that you called yesterday, or you had a drop call in the last half an hour, and you have to repeat yourself. These things are solved today. So we've launched our drop call summaries, we've launched our context transfer, we've launched lots of features that already are helping the contact center agent just be a lot more knowledgeable when you speak to them. They know you called before. They get a suggestion on how to handle the call. So AI is already having an impact in contact centers.
Yeah. So I hear what you're saying. I think we're going to have a choice as a consumer or any type of customer for any type of business. Do we want the information now? Do we want to wait if we want to talk to a human? When we come back from our break, I'm going to ask you, the first question is, how likely is it that we'll see humanless contact centers in the future? That's number one. Number two, I want to get into something you just started to touch on a moment ago, which is, we've been talking almost this entire conversation about what AI and the experience is for the customer. How about AI and the experience for the person who's talking to the customer? I think that's a powerful thing that you guys do over at Cisco. And we're going to do even more than that. We are talking to the amazing Jay Patel, who is all the way over in England, and he's coming to us from that far off other side of the pond place. He's the SVP Webex CX Solutions Group over at Cisco. Don't go away. We're coming right back. Shep Hyken here with an offer that won't cost you a cent. You may have heard me talk about my annual customer service and experience research. We've surveyed thousands of customers matching the U.S. Census for age, gender, ethnicity, and geography, and we find out what customers love, hate, and want in a customer experience. What's the number one customer experience that almost every customer desires? What makes them come back? What makes them leave? Why won't they fill out surveys? What do they think of AI? Well, these questions and more are answered in the research. You can download the full report by going to hyken.com and clicking on the research tab at the top. Like I said, it won't cost you a cent, but it may make you or save you thousands and thousands of dollars when you understand your customers' expectations. Again, the website is www.hyken.com.
You're listening to Amazing Business Radio with best-selling author and customer service and business expert, Shep Hyken.
We're back on Amazing Business Radio talking with Jay Patel of Cisco Webex CX Solutions. Jay, I said something before. I've never even positioned it quite this way. I said humanless contact centers. I don't know if that's ever going to happen. Maybe it will. Did video kill the radio star? That's my standard line. No, it didn't. So
no, but actually, that's a very astute point, which is, I think in media, as we've seen over a long time, every medium that comes along never replaces the previous medium, and they all coexist together. And I think it's the same is true of all sorts of areas of customer service. So no, I don't see a humanless contact center. I think we have technology today that's going to augment organizations' abilities to serve customers better. But there'll still be a need for humans in contact centers. There'll still be a need for websites. There'll still be a need for physical locations where you may have to go and do something and drop something off. So I think every touch point there's just new touch points come along.
Right. I just interviewed the CEO of Verizon Consumer, and he said, we've added 400 stores for a reason. People want to talk to people.
Correct. And I think, like I said, it is a bit like, we never stopped reading newspapers, well, at least I did, when the internet came along. And, we get our news from different sources, we get media from different sources. I think customer service will also, these are just new touch points enabled by technology.
Right. And then we also talked about how we've been, really focused on the consumer, the customer. And by the way, it doesn't matter if you're B2B, B2C. This is, you're going to have customers calling for support, depending on the type of business you are in. Somebody's going to call for help. And it may be help because I didn't get my invoice, or you're claiming I didn't pay my invoice. That could be, it doesn't matter what type of business you're in. So I think it's there, but the employee that's supporting the customer is going to be given, and is currently given, incredible advantages thanks to AI and what AI can do to give that frontliner information about the customer, information about the problem they have. And as you mentioned earlier in our conversation, I know you called yesterday. Is this about the same problem? I see that you were talking to somebody 6 minutes ago. What happened? Got disconnected? Oh, well, here, let's take it from where you were. So I think that's a wonderful feature that we were frustrated with that wasn't there before.
And for employees, we also have to remember, and this is one of the attrition in contact center agents and attrition in these customer service centers is high compared to other jobs. People often get burnt out in those roles. There can be high levels of stress. And one of the things that we believe that AI, with all the tools that we're providing, detect agent stress. So that by looking at the transcripts, by looking at the nature of the conversation, you can detect whether agents are having anxious conversations that maybe they then need maybe a break after 2 or 3 of those conversations. We're also helping supervisors coach and performance coach better. So we think that ultimately the AI will help them do their job better with in enabling in working with customers, but also make the job itself more interesting.
Yeah.
And actually give them the tools to manage and the managers the tools to manage this agent workforce better and hopefully ultimately lower attrition. It's something which we know is a big business problem.
I believe that what's going to happen is the people who are not capable of getting past that first level, who are working for a company, are going to struggle. If they're willing to learn, be open-minded, be willing to take on the new systems, they're going to grow, and they're going to find they're far more fulfilled than in the past, because now they don't have to answer the same question over and over again. Yeah, let me check and see where your product is in the shipping, whatever.
And also, ultimately, I'm sure we've all had this experience where you're very annoyed as a customer, you talk to a contact center agent, and they are also annoyed on your behalf. and they feel helpless in helping you because their systems are not good enough, or that they can't help you the way that they would like to help you. And I think I've had that many times, and they empathize with you, and you empathize with that they're doing a job. And I just think that better tooling all round is just going to help them deliver a better service to you. And I do think, like I said, that's going to increase job satisfaction for them as well, because they're doing what they're meant to be doing, which is helping customers.
All right, we're going to switch gears. I don't often talk about this, but I actually have some research on what concerns customers about AI and doing business digitally. Do you see a lot of pitfalls or any dangers that we should be aware of, or maybe as a company, what we should be taking into consideration when we implement this type of a solution for our customers?
Well, I think one of the things that I would suggest is that we're still in the early days of a lot of AI foundational models, LLMs, techniques, and one of the things that I think at Cisco we focus a lot on is security, data privacy, and making sure that we iterate our way to a better solution that has, let's call it, that minimizes risks for our customers. We see situations in which maybe people are putting data into LLMs that they really should not be putting into LLMs. We have a policy of making sure that if you work with us, that your data is not trained anywhere else, right? So it's protected. We know from some of the work we do that some of the LLMs, maybe some of the more open source ones, have got backdoors. There's leakage. There's all sorts of things that can happen with use of some of these AI tools. And again, at Cisco, we seek to protect customers in their use of AI. So we believe we put like a security blanket around the use of AI, the use of LLMs, so that you can use them in a way that is right for your business without compromising any data, without compromising without compromising security. So I do think that there are dangers. I think in the quest to improve things, you've still got to be careful. Right?
Yeah,
and that's really the one piece of advice I'd give everybody, which is, firstly, it's incredibly exciting. We live in an age of incredible innovation, but as you go towards that, having partners or having a stance around still making sure that you're protecting your assets, your customers' data, and anything that might compromise you going forwards is something that we're very careful of, for sure.
Yeah. And that, by the way, coincides with the big concern customers seem to have. Once again, our research, 7 out of 10 are concerned about privacy. They're concerned about talking to somebody. They're talking to a machine versus somebody. And I'm not sure if talking to somebody is even probably more dangerous than talking to the machine. But I totally get your point.
Well, and that's again very interesting. Like people may be willing to give out their credit card details to a person, and then actually machines maybe not. But the reality is protection of all data, protection of anything that might personally identify a consumer. These are all things that I know we and the market in general are obviously, we want to make sure that the tools are used for the right purposes, deliver that better customer experience without compromise. And I do think that's something which can be done. Which just everyone needs to be careful. That's all.
Yep. All right, we're down to the final question. I warned you it's coming. Is there one last piece of information that you'd love to share with us? Some insights, some wisdom. What would that be?
Oof. I just think that the pace of change has surprised me, and I've been in technology for 30 years. And I think if you look at what's happened in the last 2 or 3 years in terms of the size of some of these models, they've grown 10,000x. If you look at the capabilities that are now available across all parts of technology with AI, I just think that this exponential curve that we're on, it will continue. And I would suggest that everybody gets onto looking at it in detail. One of the things in the CX world is there's a lot of people who have tried many things in the past. So we've tried machine learning, we've tried predictive analytics. We've been a market in which a lot of tech has been used. And there may be just a bit of fatigue on this next new thing. And I would probably suggest everybody just forgets being tired, forgets the fatigue, and really look into how these technologies can improve their businesses. Because I don't even think I think we're just starting.
Yeah, that's what everybody says. And you just said 10,000x on the capability increase. And I don't think you're far off. I actually would argue it's 9,870. Just kidding. But seriously,
I use that stat. It's only a proxy. The stat is actually to do with what would have been the number of parameters in a model 5 years ago and what today are the parameters in a model. And it's just, as I said, it's not necessarily 10,000 more powerful. It's just the sheer amount of innovation, money, and just technology prowess that has been invested in the last 2 or 3 years is insane. And this is now getting deployed, and we're working with customers getting some incredible results straight off the bat. I mean, this is where I'll put a little plug in for WebexOne later in the year, in San Diego, and we'll be talking about some of these case studies. And customers are having incredible results straight off the bat with some of these with these technologies, saving costs and massively improving the things we've spoken about, handling times. Yeah.
And I'm going to reiterate your plug. WebexOne, San Diego, exact dates? Do you know? I know it's late September, early October.
Correct. That's what it is. Yeah, correct.
And
yes.
All you needed to go is, where would they go? Cisco, Webex, just do a search?
Well, Webex, Cisco, and WebexOne 2025.
Got it. Perfect. And hey, that would be awesome. And the other thing you said is, it's so much less expensive. It is so much less expensive. I know our listeners have heard me say that 10 years ago when I was going to conferences like for IBM's Watson, it would cost tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, even pushing $1 million to do a tiny bit of what's capable today at truly a fraction of the cost or expense to a company to do so. So, Jay, thank you so much for being on our show today. You've really eye-opening thoughts on what's happening here in the world of CX, especially with AI, both with customers and with employees. We talked a little about the dangers that all companies should be concerned with, and I appreciate you being here and sharing your wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, everybody, that wraps it up. Another episode of Amazing Business Radio. We'll be back next week with another interview. Until that time, this is Shep Hyken reminding you to always be amazing.